a regular gig, understanding the benefits of open mic performance, and her mentor is Dr. Michelle Stefano.
Hey everyone. My name is Jennie Williams, and I'm going to just get right into it. So let's see how this works. All right, so we're going to begin with an introduction, and then my question of my research project. We'll go into my methods and the sites that I used, the analysis, and we'll discuss the limitations to open mic night, and then we'll conclude with some questions. So what is an open mic? I've left the definition here for you to read, but I've always been interested in open mics since high school when I would perform at my weekly open mic in Frederick, Maryland. I'd sing and play guitar. So open mics have sprung up on weeknights across the country as a singer-songwriter involved in recent decades out of the folk revivalist movements of the 50s and 60s. My question though focuses on contemporary culture. What is it about open mics that are so compelling that they're able to inspire voluntary weekly participation? So I used widely ethnographic methods. After receiving the UMBC Undergraduate Research Award, I began my research in the summer of 2013. I sampled several open mic nights in the Baltimore area, music and poetry-based nights, because comedy is a little different. I chose 3 sites. I frequently attended them, so at least once every other week. I did participant observation, as you can see here, that's me. I conducted 15 interviews with participants, MCs, owners, and 1 talent agent. And then I analyzed their responses, as you'll see in this presentation. So I chose T-Volve on Monday nights. It's a popular and spacious cafe. It's well advertised online, which brings a variety of performers, both traveling and regular, with a multitude of cultural backgrounds. There's a featured artist every week, and it's uncertain how long it's been held, except I know that Rob Hinkle, the host, took over in 2012. Judges Bench on Tuesday nights. It's also unknown how long it's been around. They guess about 12 years. The current host, Mike Vance, has been there for 3 years. It's a historic tavern with mainly regulars performing cover songs. It's a majority white male crowd, though open and encouraging of a variety of musical styles. Pizza and a Cup of Joe on Thursday nights is a small but intimate coffee shop. Acoustic Thursdays has been operating since 2008 by host Mark Evans. There's a featured artist, a cover at the door to keep the night running, and if you would like, a house band with a beatboxer, guitarist, vocalist, and bassist will back you up on your song or your poem if you'd like. So that's pretty cool. The crowd is mostly African American, though again, it's open to a variety of cultural music and musical styles. So into my analysis. In my interviews, common themes and ideas would come up, so I've placed them in order of frequency. So starting with the dynamics and the evolution of open mic nights. Open mics are variant in that they open and close. They develop, the hosts change, the venues change, and generations of performers can pass through in a span of a few months. The owner also influences its existence. The restaurant is a business before it's a venue. These implicit norms, to show respect and to be accepted, means you come frequently, you listen, you participate, you don't leave after you finish, you be yourself and basically don't have selfish expectations. It's sort of like a business deal. You're invited to perform to a mutually attentive audience. Nerves and identity. Many people are nervous, it's normal, you don't want to mess up. Mostly people are more nervous in front of a crowd they're unfamiliar with. Nerves, they're understandable, but when shyness gets in the way of your performance, that's highly discouraged at open mics because it's known to be a space where this is the most forgiving crowd you'll ever perform for. It's also not uncommon for performers to adopt a stage name to have a more confident identity. It's really interesting, about 5 of my interviewees have stage names. Then the artist's job, to give it up on stage. Performers appreciate this opportunity to perform. They perform to entertain, to express, and to send a message. The variety keeps the audience's attention. Age, race, class, spiritual, and educational backgrounds add to this variety. It also, open mics provide a space for performers who may not otherwise have a gig or a space to perform. So for example, fire breathers and traditional Bavarian dancers, those are true examples. They're only going to have a chance to perform at open mic nights. The audience participation. Performers may play on the emotions of the audience to gauge their interests. When the audience gets completely quiet, you know that they're listening to you. At Peace and a Cup of Joe, audience members like to sing along with you, and at Judge's Bench, people often like to get up and dance. So, continuing on. These reasons for participation. First and foremost, this idea that these people are your family, these lasting friendships. The participants are grateful for this loving community. The supportive networks. Open mics strongly support local music, local venues, and traveling musicians. It's not cutthroat competitive, and musicians often meet and collaborate to form bands later on. Word of mouth and especially social media will spread these open mics around. Each open mic has a Facebook, and even T-Volve has a live video stream of the performances so people can tune in online. Feedback and encouragement is a huge thing. At its most basic, applause and the attention you get at open mics are encouraging. You'll never hear a boo at an open mic night. Some performers like to test their new material on an audience, and it's a confidence boost to hear you've grown or you've improved from someone who's seen you perform every week. The love bucket or the tip jar is a sign of encouragement to the featured performers so that they continue to create their art. Then there's this idea that there's a relatable common interest. Many performers love to play those evergreen songs that many people grew up with and remember. These songs signify a common culture. At the same time, writing and performing original work is a great way to connect and relate to people. The art and poetry can be inspirational for those to see. This idea that it's therapeutic, it's pleasurable, you play for yourself. Some people don't have CDs to sell, they just like to perform in front of people. A couple of my interviewees travel about an hour to their open mics weekly. The open mic can provide emotional healing, whether from a breakup, a death, an addiction, or some tragedy. And it feels good to share your story and to release emotion through singing or through poetry. This positive challenge, expansion of artistic ability, simply practicing, familiarizing yourself in front of a crowd and with equipment, learning to play songs with others, and coming out of your social shell, and finally checking your ego at the door. Self-promotion. It's not quite as common, but many performers do use open mics as a tool to spread their music for career purposes, especially if they have no other gig that night. Professional musicians must follow the money, however, so you won't always see them at open mic nights. But the booked feature they have a unique opportunity to shamelessly pitch their music during that one night, because they get about 20 minutes or so, depending on the place to perform. So, many of my participants attend more than one open mic, maybe 2 or 3. But why? My question, why do you attend more than one? Why doesn't one fulfill every one of your needs? Well, it doesn't. Each of these factors here really influence and create value for individual open mics. So starting with the host MC, they set the example of how the audience should behave by laying down ground rules and performance instructions. A good host is welcoming, accommodating, fair, friendly, and attentive. The host does not do it solely for the compensation, which is often very modest, if anything. The host also attracts a certain crowd that may set the sound of the night. The venue is very important. The location, it really makes a difference. Is the service and the food and drink good? Do you feel comfortable or at home here? The atmosphere. Is it a coffee shop, a dive bar, a tavern, a church, a club, a college? Does it have a stage? These factors are very important because they direct the attention of the audience and it sets a general attitude. The performers, are they regulars or travelers? Do they perform cover songs or original work? How well connected are they to the network, and what is their cultural background? The audience, they can be one and same with the performers. Are they regulars? Are they attending for the show, or are they attending just for dinner? And there's also a common idea, you never know who's going to be in the audience, so you want to put on your best show. And then finally, profitability and popularity. This is an interesting concept. It's mainly for the professional musicians, but how many CDs can you sell at a place? At a popular place with a more diverse crowd of non-regulars, you might be able to sell more. So are you going to go to the judges' bench in Ellicott City that, they have the same crowd every week, or are you going to go to somewhere on the opposite side of the spectrum, like the famous Bluebird in Nashville, Tennessee, where you're literally given a ticket at the door that says you can perform next time because it's so popular. So a performer may go to a few events depending on what they need out of the open mic. Now, an open mic it's not all positive. Just like any community, there are these limitations. So first and foremost, exclusion. Cliques may form in open mics. Maybe a host will favor certain groups of people. If you go to a new place, you never know if your music might be accepted by an audience. They may be intolerant to what you want to perform if your sound is more worldly or whatever. And then the smoke break gossip, which is literally or not, people talk behind one another's backs. There's judgment passed. In response to this, Mike Vance of Judges Bench, the host there, he says, well, you're not playing at Madison Square Garden either, so as far as I'm concerned, you're all equal. Then there's this idea that the atmosphere, it may not be conducive to what you want to do. So if you're a drummer, your drum kit may or may not fit, and it may or may not fit in the place where you want to be. Or if you're a poet and you want to perform an original piece, You may not want to do that at a sports bar where there may be TVs and other distractions, so you really want to be critical about the place you go to. If alcohol's involved, you never really know what might happen in the night as the night carries on. But in particular, if you're under 21, you may or may not be able to perform there. So you have to keep that in mind. Then there's this idea that the network is actually a hindrance. So, you try to do your best to get in with the network, get in to know who you can speak to get gigs or to collaborate with, but at the same time, you're doing yourself a disservice by performing for the same people every week, when you should really be branching out and extending your networks to other places. So, a good open mic is aware of these limitations and will do their best to go through them. So, on April 11th, 2014, the Library of Congress acknowledged the historical importance of coffee houses, counterculture, and the contemporary culture of open mics. TVOL host Rob Hinkle was invited to speak on a panel of folklorists for his breadth of knowledge and experience of open mic nights nationally. The discussion of open mic night cultures is important as it relates to topics of amateur performance, cultural community formation, and historical documentation. As Rob explained, and I paraphrase, we each live in our own worlds where we see what we want to see. You click on a link and you're looking at what interests you. Open mic nights allow you to transcend these selective boundaries by meeting and talking with people you wouldn't have met otherwise. You'll be exposed to music styles and ideas you never thought you'd be interested in. In conclusion, the open mic night is therefore not a regular gig for one's own self-promotion. It's a welcoming invitation into the network for future collaborations. To be part of this community and to receive these experiential benefits, you need to participate, listen to others, and step out of your comfort zone to show the audience what you can contribute. I would like to extend a thank you to the URA committee at UMBC for funding my research, to the American Studies Department and to Maryland Traditions for their encouragement, to my mentors, Dr. Michelle Stefano and Dr. Kathy Bryan, especially to my interview participants for their enthusiasm, and to my friends, family, and boyfriend for their continued support. Thank you all for your attention. If any of this interests you, I can give you a strongly recommended list of open mics in the area to try. There's some alum in there. Jason and Evan right there. Yeah.
Questions? We have some time for questions if people would like to ask.
Or just discussion,
Or comment. True.
Jason?
Did you find at most of those mics, was it a lot of musicians who were trying to go into the music industry and they were there trying to perform for self-promotion, or was it a lot of for people just there playing, just kind of do your research of something?
It depends on the place. Sort of as I was saying, you choose the place depending on the crowd that you're going to see. So going to T-Ball, for example, there's a lot of turnover. You don't see all regulars, though there are some. But I would say more people there would be trying to get their name out, because that's a very popular spot. You see it on the internet. If you're traveling through town, you'll stop there before you stop at a different place. So it depends on the place, I think. Yeah. Any questions?
More questions?
Yeah.
Have you found that open mic nights are becoming an aging culture? Are they becoming an older demographic, or is there a lot of younger people joining in and buying into open mic night type events?
I would say it's really a wide variety of ages. The youngest person that I interviewed was 19 years old. Depending on where you go, you'll see a variety of ages, and older too, of course. So, yeah. Cliff?
In terms of repertoire, were there any universals at open mics, where you would go to different open mic nights and you just hear the same song over and over again, between all of them?
Between all of them? Well, some places are more oriented towards certain genres. So some places may be more interested in classic rock, whereas some places may be more interested in soul music. So, if you're playing an oldies hit that everyone might know, I'm sure everyone there will appreciate it. So, yeah, it really depends on the region where you are, I think, as well.
I think we have time for one more quick question.
Is there a difference in terms of Baltimore and Frederick, or Baltimore and Memphis?
Well, I haven't been to Memphis, but I think that there is a distinct community that you find at each place. You'll see, the same people coming to one particular spot. So depending on that crowd's interests, maybe. in terms of Frederick, I think I would hear some of the same stuff like a judge's bench there too. So I think you're in for a treat wherever you might go. So thank you.
Again, this is a moment when, if there are presenters here who haven't come up front yet, you can come up front if you're presenting in the next hour.